A prominent speaker at the Asian Financial Forum 2011 is David Robson. He's the founder of Tethys Petroleum, which is listed in Toronto, but he speaks to us from picturesque Guernsey in the Channel Islands. David, thanks for joining us. And the theme of the Asian Financial Forum this year is Asia, reshaping the global agenda. But how true is that?
I firmly believe that Asia is a key component globally right now, and certainly is in the process of reshaping not just the global agenda, but the way the world will work in the future. This is not just in terms of the development economically of the globe, but also in terms of resource usage and, from my own personal perspective, from the usage of energy. The development of the Asian markets is, of course, key to world economic growth, not just in terms of the export potential from Asia, but also in terms of the development of domestic markets within Asia. And I really think that right now the short-term development of the world certainly depends on the development of the Asian region. And I think it's very important that the finance and the development of the financial abilities of Asia is pushed to the fore in order to enable this to happen.
Well, with Asia being where the big demand for oil and gas is, where do you see the oil price in 2011?
Well, as you know, the oil price is now somewhere in excess of $90 a barrel. I think we must remember that at the beginning of the year, the oil price was around about 85 or so dollars a barrel. So over the year, there hasn't been a huge increase, although obviously there was a dip in the middle part of the year. I certainly don't see oil prices declining substantially. I think the demand, particularly in the Asian markets, will drive the oil price forward. And obviously some of the developments also in the Western economies, particularly with the quantitative easing we're seeing in the US. Right now there is, I believe, projections for this year's oil price being somewhere in the range of $90 to $100 a barrel. And I think that's probably realistic. I don't see it spiking, and it's better it doesn't spike, but certainly I think we're in a world of increasing energy prices overall.
Talking more broadly, David, your company, Tethys Petroleum, has operations in the Stans in Central Asia. Is that where there's going to be tremendous operational development, not just in oil and gas?
Well, certainly Central Asia has resources not just of oil and gas and energy, but pretty much of anything you can think of. And much of this area is either undeveloped or underdeveloped, and certainly requires further investment to bring those resources both to the surface and indeed to the market. The use of modern technologies will enable us to effectively and more efficiently develop those resources, and of course that will require capital, and that capital will need to be focused in the reasonably short term in order to see a longer term yield of additional energy and other resources from Central Asia. We must never forget that in the oil and gas business and the resource business in general, these are long-term projects. So the investment needs to come now to realize those rewards in the future. Infrastructure is obviously a very important thing, and I think that we're seeing already the development of a new infrastructure to the east from Central Asia.
You talk of investment in infrastructure, but what are the real priorities?
Well, obviously you have to find it, and exploring for it is an important part of that. More modern techniques of exploration certainly yield successes. We've just been successful in finding a new oil field in Kazakhstan, for example, using more modern technology. But really the infrastructure is how you're going to get that product to market. And that comes from pipelines. The commissioning of the Central Asia-China gas pipeline at the end of, at the end of the year before last, was a very key step forward. And the now Kazakh-China oil pipeline. These are the first steps, and I think we'll see these pipelines expand and develop. But of course, you obviously need to find the stuff, but there's no point in finding it and then not being able to get it to market. So a large part of that infrastructure is transportation of the product to the relevant market.
David, at the Asian Financial Forum, you're going to be talking about how the Central Asian Stans can provide clean energy, that is clean gas, to China and East Asia. How do you see that developing?
Well, of course, gas is the cleanest of the fossil fuels available, and Central Asia has huge amounts of that. The reserves that are there, I'm sure, can be significantly increased. Already, Central Asia has the fourth largest reserves of gas in the world. But quite honestly, I think this is a fairly pessimistic number. And with the application of some additional technologies, I can see that increasing significantly beyond that. Of course, it comes back to this competitive development between the different markets, both for Central Asian resources, both the European market, the Indian subcontinent, and of course the Chinese market. The gas from Central Asia will be a key component, really, of China's energy mix in the future. And I don't believe it'll be long before we're seeing Central Asian gas supplied directly to Hong Kong and fueling Hong Kong's development.
So when do you see that taking place, as you see it?
Well, I guess theoretically today it probably can. One molecule of gas could theoretically get all the way down to Hong Kong through the system that exists now with the east-west pipelines in China and, of course, the Central Asia China gas pipeline. But really it's going to come down to the development of sales contracts with Hong Kong gas buyers. And that will come, and I think it's really an opportunity for smaller companies such as Tethys Petroleum to do that, to be the innovators, if you like, in terms of not just finding the gas, but working out the commercial arrangements to transit that gas through the gas pipeline system to customers in the Hong Kong and southern China region. I don't think it's long away.
And mentioning Hong Kong, you see the SAR as being a reference point for investment in oil and gas?
Well, it's the logical place, quite frankly. If you look at Hong Kong's history, it's always been there as a catalyst for financing either into or out of East Asia and China in particular. So it's a logical place to look to finance these ventures. But there does need to be a change in approach in Hong Kong. I think we must be aware that oil and gas exploration and development is inherently a risky business. I'm a geologist, and I'm used to taking risks with drilling, for example, exploration wells. But that's what you have to do in order to hopefully get the rewards. But most of the time, these exploration wells don't find anything. You hope that with more technical work, you might reduce the risk, but nonetheless, there's a risk. And of course, working in developing economies such as those in Central Asia also brings with it political and economic risks. And it's really a matter of Hong Kong being able to get comfortable with those technical, economic and political risks to then provide what I believe is its rightful place as being the conduit for investment into the development of that region through, for example, the Hong Kong Stock Exchange and other financial instruments, perhaps new financial instruments in Hong Kong itself.
So David, how important is the Asian Financial Forum as a meeting place, really, for those who are thinking about investment in the future?
Well, I think the Asian Financial Forum is a key forum, and I believe the key forum in terms of bringing together new ideas, decision makers, and new ways forward to develop, as I say, not just Asia, because of the crucial position that the development of Asia has globally. I think it's important, however, that the forum isn't just a talking shop, that there are good ideas presented, and I'm sure there will be, and discussed, but I think it's important to see real results come out of this forum.
All right.